This almost feels irresponsible, not gonna lie. Here it is, the Alpha 7 Mark IV. Oh wow, the buttons actually feel very nice. So why did I get this camera? I shot a wedding on Saturday, and whenever I'm shooting a wedding, I have two bodies. I have my a7 III, which I have on a monopod, and then I have my a6400, which is on a gimbal. So we were shooting outside, and during the bridal party portraits, the wind picked up, caught it just right, and knocked it onto the concrete. This photo here explains everything. So I am not replacing it outright because I do still use it for other forms of work, but now it is being retired to being strictly photo, and then this is my upgrade for video. There's a lot of different reasons why I got this. I was originally looking at the A7S III. I took this opportunity to fast track the upgrade, and this just fit the budget better. I'm going to do some stress tests here and post the results in this video. I literally just got this, so I need to actually play around with it first, get a feeling for the menu and the buttons and whatnot, and then I'll get into the wonderful tech specs and all that fun stuff. Though first impression, the buttons feel nice, the wheel, the scroll wheel. I normally take these off, these little bits here, but honestly it's not too, like, they don't rattle around like the A7 III did, so I might actually just leave them on until I, put it in a cage. Oh, that's nice. The little doors, the little doors to the inputs don't feel too in the way. How do I? Dude, am I just stupid? How do I open the SD card door? I have not had a flippy screen in such a long time. So this will be interesting. The last camera that I had that had a flippy screen, if you've been on the channel long enough, was the Canon T3i. And I actually really liked it. Although like the autofocus kind of sucked. So I had to, so trying to figure out the focus while making YouTube videos was kind of a pain in the ass. I almost forgot, since this is partially an unboxing, I almost forgot to open up this thing here. Oh, it's a little charging cable. Cool. No charging block, unfortunately. And good guy Sony, oh, never mind. There is a charging block. I spoke too soon. I thought at first good guy Sony was gonna come in clutch with 2 batteries, but nope. So you've got a charging cable, a charging block, and 1 battery, and then a strap, which I'm probably, honestly, genuinely never going to use because I'm a video guy and I will generally almost always have this rigged out anyway. Unboxing and first impressions over, off to do some testing. So vlog time with the new camera. Beth's staring at me.
Is the question, do you look like you're holding a huge camera? Then yes.
No. So real quick before I get too into it, upon turning this on, I immediately went to set this to S-Cinetone, so that's what I'm shooting this on, because I have never had a camera that had it before. Also, this is the normal field of view that I'm so used to seeing on like the ZV-1 and the a6400. But I get that much more field of view with the 16mm lens. Are you comfortable with my financial decisions? I still feel irresponsible purchasing this camera.
This thing that you're going to use basically every day?
Yes. After having just broken a camera.
Well, don't break this one then.
I will try not to, but
you go.
I did.
No monopods on this one, I guess. Tripods only.
Tripods only. I did spring for like 3-year warranty on this though.
Oh my god, that's good.
Yeah. This is all...
So irresponsible. Warranties? Oh my god.
Yeah. Whoa, whoa. After the last camera was at least a year out of warranty.
Mm.
At the time of recording this, as of 3 hours ago, the man himself, Matt, who is Matt Johnson, dropped a video about custom buttons setup guide for the a7 IV. So I'm probably gonna watch that. Otherwise, my goal was to watch Make Art Now's video on the cinematic button layout for the a7S III, but see if I can get it to work for the a7 IV. So I'm gonna do that, and while I keep trying to navigate through the menu layout, it's getting easier. It was a little bit much at first, just because it's so different from the a7 III, the a6400, and the ZV-1. But I'm finding my way around it. It's not super difficult. It is very different, but it is very organized. So it's just trying to get used to it. So now I have everything ready to go. So now it's just time to bring it out and do a real world test out in the wild. So I've got my a6400 with me, I've got my note card, and I've got a couple extra lenses just to play around with. So here's everything that I wanted to try out. So I'm just gonna go try these out. Alrighty, so this is my vlog test, I guess. Shooting in S-Log3 at the moment. Using the Gamma Display Assist to help me figure out the exposure here, especially considering don't exactly have an ND filter for this lens yet. Okay, so real quick, I just kind of want to point out the size difference between these cameras. So here's the a6400 with the Tamron 17 to 28, and then here's the a7 IV with the 16 to 35. Oh my God, it's so tiny by comparison. Anywho. The test that I'm doing right now is I want to see how well the S-CineClone picture profile from Extra Shot stacks up against S-Cinetone in the a7 IV. So I'm just gonna grab some quick shots around this little like campfire spot and just kind of see how well the colors blend in with with each other. Looking back at the footage between the a7 IV and this a6400, between S-Cinetone and the S-CineClone, I tried to keep the settings as close as possible to make it as fair of a comparison as I possibly could in terms of aperture, shutter speed, and ISO and exposure values. But looking back at this, I probably could have stopped the ISO down on the a7 IV just a little bit to compensate, because the sensor on the a6400 is quite a bit smaller, so it handles the shadows and highlights quite a bit differently than the a7 IV. But in terms of color rendering, they look very, very similar. Looking at the greens especially, it looks like the a6400 leans a little bit more on the warm side, but looking at the skin tones on my face, they do both look very similar. So I do think that you could probably use either the a6400 or the a7 III or another one of the 8-bit Sony cameras with this picture profile and use it as a B cam in a project with the a7 IV or the a7S III or the FX6 or one of the other Sony cinema cameras using S-Cinetone. And as long as you're not doing any color grading and you're just using this picture profile straight out of the camera, it looks very similar, and you'd be able to use it in a project together, and your client wouldn't be able to tell the difference, although you probably could. But once you start doing color grading, that's kind of when the 8-bit footage really starts to fall apart and the 10-bit footage really reigns supreme. Now, on top of just comparing S-Cinetone to S-CineClone in the 8-bit cameras, another thing that I wanted to test out was to see which picture profile would be best for me using this 10-bit camera, whether it be whether it be S-Log3 or S-Cinetone. Now, because 10-bit is a thing now in modern consumer cameras, or prosumer cameras, I guess, and S-Log3 is a much more viable option now versus S-Log 2. S-Log 3 gives you a lot more flexibility with color grading than S-Log 2 ever did. But S-Cinetone, baby. So, I don't know. So here's a couple of clips that I took comparing the two between S-Cinetone straight out of camera and then S-Log 3 and then corrected. Now, I'm no stranger to shooting in log. That's typically my preferred picture profile. Normally, I'll shoot in S-Log 2 on the a7 III and the a6400 and even the ZV-1. This is in log right now. Chances are likely I'll probably still continue to shoot in log, but I'll just shoot in S-Log 3 instead of S-Log 2 because it is a little bit easier to expose, especially with the Gamma Display Assist. And it does offer... It's not quite raw, but it does offer just a little bit more leniency on your exposure than, say, shooting in just a normal picture profile where everything is already in Rec. 709. But honestly, I'm gonna say it. S-Cinetone looks really, really good. I don't know. It'll probably honestly depend on the project. But I will probably have some of those projects where I do shoot in S-Cinetone where I have to have a much quicker turnaround time and I don't exactly have a whole lot of time to do a color grade or do the color correction that S-Log so blatantly requires. I still have a lot more tests to do with S-Log 3, obviously, because I've only had the camera for a day now. Preferably, I would like to be able to do this in DaVinci Resolve. However, the problem I'm running into is I'm using the free version of DaVinci Resolve, which does not accept 10-bit 422 footage. So all of these things that I'm doing right now for color grading and color testing have been done in Premiere, which I'm going to say it, I hate. Premiere's such a piece of garbage, but this is the only exception that I'll make to it right now. So anyway, the next thing that I have to test is, that I really want to test is the IBIS built into the a7 IV. It's just the active stabilization versus the standard stabilization, and the ZV-1 already has that. So I'm not unfamiliar with the active stabilization, but it'll be nice to test it out with a much larger body and heavier lens versus the teeny tiny body that the ZV-1 is. Here's a couple of clips from it, but I still have a lot more that I would like to play around with the active stabilization. I've been told that the active stabilization on the a7 IV is good enough to where you could potentially ditch your gimbal entirely. And in my experience with this so far, I would not go as far to say as that's true, but it is a very good tool to where I could ditch my monopod for most of the day because I really like to shoot handheld, and the a7 III did not have that good of stabilization, so handheld was not a very good viable option. But if I can get away with shooting about 90% of my wedding day with the a7 IV handheld, then I'm happy with that. I can just chuck it on the gimbal for like the other 10% of shots that I need, or I guess 5% of shots that I need, and then the other 5% being on a tripod or a monopod. So it's very good. I mean, I knew it was going to be good based on just the ZV-1, because the ZV-1's active stabilization is very good. So I figured if the a7 IV was going to be any similar, then it's going to be good. Now, these are the majority of the tests that I wanted to conduct with this camera, but there were a couple more things, like comparing all of the picture profiles built in to each other. So I did a real quick test between all 11, I guess 12 if you think about it, picture profiles, including picture profile off, with my color checker, as well as on myself, to see how it reacts to skin tones and this weird green light that I have in the background. So here's what I have. Now, the one with my face felt a little bit rushed because I didn't quite set the exposure to how it probably should look according to the eye, versus just having all of the settings be the same throughout the whole test. So that's one I might have to revisit, but this whole bit here was just kind of leftovers from lunch, so to speak. Anyway, I hoped you enjoyed this video. This ended up being a lot longer than I expected it to be, but this was a lot of fun to make. This easily probably could have been 2, 3, maybe even 4 videos on this camera, but I didn't want to do that. I just kind of wanted to do all of these tests and just kind of get them out of the way, so then that way I could just get back to work and just get to shooting, rather than conducting full-on experiments with this camera for who knows how long. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Please comment down below. It really helps me out with the algorithm. And subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. I don't really know what the next thing I have in mind is, so feel free to come on this wild ride of whatever the heck I feel like creating. I do have music, by the way. I'm in 2 different metal bands, so if you like heavy music, I have metal music in many different styles. First one it being I'm in a band called Throes. I made a video on that band a while ago, a few months ago, about our first show. So if you like early 2000s chaotic hardcore music akin to Norma Jean and The Chariot and Dillinger Escape Plan, you would like this music. And another band called Graveless, where I think the last video I did was on the music video for that band.
Nah man, I didn't get the vaccine. I really trust just my body right now. Like, I'm in peak physical condition. Like, this is the real me.
So if you like music in the realm of like Phil Jarda or Humanity's Last Breath, you might like that one. So I'll have links to those bands down below. So please check out my music. Until next time, I will see you in the next video. Battery door. Dude, am I just stupid? How do I open the SD card door?